Hey, welcome back. My name is Pavlina from Master to Time, Moving and Relocation Concierge, and your fractional estate manager. Thank you for coming back for another video. And today I would like to talk to you about when to start packing, types of vendors, materials, and what you need to consider when moving.
Oh, hey, you're here. Good.
So let's begin. First, when do you start packing? Honestly, as soon as possible. If you have a lot of things to declutter, start as soon as possible because then getting rid of those things may take you some time, like calling for donations pickup, and some of those that are for larger items, book weeks ahead of time. Some are, and especially if you want to be more conscious of what gets sent where, how is it used, reused. Those require a bit of research, and honestly, it's best to start with your own town's resources and then go from there. In terms of materials, honestly, the best thing is to use paper. Everyone hates paper, but guess what? Paper is the easiest thing to recycle and it disintegrates. It's not like plastic. Bubble wrap is a no go, really, a no go. It takes a lot of space and it doesn't protect as good as paper because you can always pad it very well with paper. And bubble wrap, yes, it has the bubbles, but then once the bubble is popped, you just have a thin layer of plastic that nothing protects the fragile thing in it. And so I like to buy the paper from either U-Haul or Home Depot, wherever, but in the larger, I think they come in 100 and 500 sheets of paper. Just get the 500. You will use it regardless, because then when you pack boxes, you need to stuff them very well, like padding on the bottom a lot, on the side, and then on the top. You want to fill up the box to the top to the point where you actually have to squeeze it and tape it. And especially if it's going into storage, you want that box to be filled to the top, well padded, and then seal any seams that are open around it because it will stay in storage. And most likely, in my experience so far, boxes that are sent to storage stay in storage at least 5 years. So think about that. And that's another thing to consider. Are you sending anything to storage? How long is going to stay? Is it a high value art or antique furniture, or is it just seasonal clothing and other items that you may need to pull out from storage? And so, if that is the case, then maybe self storage is perfect for you. If it's something that you send to storage because you have no place to put it right now. For example, a client is moving and they need to move by the 30th, but their next stop, like future home, is not finished yet, or their rental is not available yet, or whatever the case is, like 10 days later or 2 months later. Sometimes we send the items with the movers. Most of the times the movers have storage available. It's not easy access. Some movers, if you call them and request a certain item and it's easily recognizable, they can pull it out for you. But I would say 99% of the time you send it with them and it stays there until it's ready to come out of storage to be delivered to your final destination, next destination, whatever it is. um, Materials, if you want to pack yourself, obviously the most popular is U-Haul boxes. They do have moving boxes, they do have plate boxes, all kinds of boxes. In my experience, a good old regular box is much better than a plate box because then again it takes up unnecessarily space. They give you those foamy things. It's not enough protection for what you're trying to do. Also, they're more of a square box, and if you start getting bigger boxes, they get awkward to carry. Do you want to do wardrobe boxes? Depends. If it's a quick move and it's just in the box, out of the box, into the closet, sure, it will be easier to do wardrobe boxes. If you're thinking about budget, wardrobe box is probably the most expensive box, along with a TV box. And honestly, if you don't mind just putting them, folding your clothes in a regular box, and then putting them on a hanger when you get back to your um, new house, apartment. Then we have movers. There's so many different types of movers. One most popular, I guess, are the well-known moving companies, and because they're well-known, they get booked very fast, and they also can give you a good price. Most of the time, they send 2 to 3 people, depending on the project, but in any case, it's 2 people, best three, most efficient, even for one-bedroom apartment. Then you have movers that are like a low budget movers, which are great. Most of the time, though, they don't carry insurance. So if you are looking to be more protected for if something breaks or it's packed in a certain way, I would suggest not do that. There are plenty of platforms where you can find budget movers. And then you have the high end movers where they deal with all kinds of situations, and they have great experience handling high value art, antiques, um, arranging for certain things to happen. Another thing is if you're moving out of state, and I recently found out because I ended up interviewing one of the movers that I worked with on the project this February. I didn't know up until then that they are highly regulated when you use movers to do interstate moves. So there are different regulations, different insurance and standards depending on where they're going, who, size of the truck, everything. And because there are a minimum of 2 people traveling, and you're hoping that the truck will, you know, not break down, weather will be good, and so many unknowns that at the end of the day, the when you see the final invoice, well, actually, they give you a quote, but people get shocked, like sticker shock, how expensive it is, and they don't realize how much liability it is for the movers to do this. And um, it's just a lot more complicated, a lot more many more moving pieces, logistics, and so on. And I often get asked, how much should I tip the movers? Well, it depends. Are you happy with the service? Are you happy with how they handled your possessions? Are you happy with the customer service? Were they on time? Were they easy to communicate with? And sometimes people go with 20% from the bill, which is kind of like the standard American tipping situation. But I don't know if it's a large invoice. Some people don't want to do 20% from that. So go with your gut, really. On average, I do 100 per person. That doesn't mean that you can go less. You can't go less or more. It's just most of the movers that I work with are decent people. They have done great work, and 100 is the minimum, unless it was literally 3 hours of like a mini project that I had a few weeks ago with that tiny one-bedroom apartment where, it was literally 3 hours of work. And so probably it was like $80 or 100. A lot of times people were nervous about how long it's going to take the relocation. That's why they get overwhelmed. And really, it's why we are there to help you with the logistics and take care of these particular details so you're not overwhelmed and everything is going smoothly. And even if it's not, we will take care of the situation. But in general, especially if you're moving out of state, depending on where you're going, it really depends on the weather and whether the company is using a third party to do the long haul and then unload, so which is an extra probably 2 days. So we're looking something like I did a move last year to California. It took about, I don't know, maybe 5 days just because of stops and everything. But be prepared, things to happen. We don't know, especially in the wintertime, if it has to, if you're going across country, weather is unpredictable. Now, if you're moving out of the country and you have to do shipping container over the ocean and, going to the other side of the world, even more unpredictable. So we're looking something like at least 3 months of traveling the container to way, to your destination. Like currently I have a client that is in France and they loaded everything in end of February. Finally, it's going to be arriving sometime in the next few weeks. But the company was not upfront with the time frame, so every month we will get an update that next month and next month is next month. And so be prepared to pivot. And that's why I recommend when you're moving, regardless of is it down the street or another town or even out of state or country, have a weekend bag. And definitely if you're moving out of state or the country, have a big suitcase of clothing that you will need for the next week and all the necessary items that you may need to for your day to day, right? Is it toiletries? Is it the workstation? Work from home? Is it medications? All of these things need to be lined up with you and stay with you when you're moving. So in case of something happens to the truck or something gets lost or gets delayed, you have what you need with you. I often get clients that move into Boston area and usually that is their first time being here, and so they are unfamiliar with neighborhoods, with rules, especially when moving and when to move and how busy it is and how things work. And so I am their resource when we need to figure out the timeline of when they need to arrive, what needs to happen in what order, so their transition into our beautiful state and town and city is seamless and everything goes smoothly. Some people use my services just as a consultant, and that is okay because now I get to guide them to a better solution and decision for the process to go smoother. Not everyone needs moving and relocation concierge. Sometimes you just need an expert, and that's it. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for being here. As always, all the ways we can connect are in the show notes below. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. And I'll see you in the next video.